Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new video on the channel, guys. Now what we're going to be doing today, we're going to be going over my championship predictions for the 2016/17 season, guys. So I've been wanting to do this video for quite a while now. I've decided to do it now, and let me just say before we get into anything here, guys, the championship is probably the most unpredictable league in the world, and it's probably it's just so hard to predict and to get all the teams in the correct order. I did one of these last year and you guys really seem to enjoy it. So what I would like you guys to do is comment in the comments down below, what are your championship predictions? If you don't have time to do all 24 clubs, that's okay, but let me know who you think the 3 relegated teams are going to be and the 3 promoted teams as well. I'll be very interested to know. But like I said, guys, don't hate on me if I say your team might do a bit badly this season or another team might do well this season. Literally, this is just my opinion, and honestly, it probably won't come true, but you never know, you know. If we get some of these predictions right, I'd be absolutely over the moon. But without further ado, guys, let's just get straight on with my predictions. So as you can see on screen now, guys, there are my bottom 3 teams. As you can see, coming rock bottom of the table, I'm predicting it's going to be Rotherham. I think this could be a really struggling season for Rotherham, if I'm being completely honest. Obviously, last season, they did the absolute impossible, managed to scrape themselves out from relegation. It was an absolutely magnificent season last year for them. How they managed to go from certain relegation, in my eyes, to manage to get out of it, it was absolutely incredible. Obviously, they had Neil Warnock doing that with them last season. He's no longer there, and honestly, I don't see where they strengthen the squad, if I'm being completely honest. I think the competition from other teams around that part of the table will be too strong for them this season, and honestly, I'm saying they're going to go down. I might be wrong with that, but honestly, that's my opinion. Any Rotherham fans, let me know in the comments down below. What do you think? How do you rate your chances of survival? I'd be very interested to know. Then coming just above them, I have Burton Albion. I think a lot of people are predicting these to come rock bottom of the table. I think they will surprise a couple of teams. I think they will pick up points here and there. However, I don't think their squad will be strong enough to stay up, and I don't think they'll surprise too many people with staying up. If they did manage to stay up, that would be absolutely magnificent for them, but honestly, I can't really see it, if I'm being too honest. And then the team coming just above them, I have Barnsley. This one, I was really skeptical, really, as to whether to put Barnsley in a relegation spot or not. In the end, I decided to go with it. I wouldn't be too surprised if they managed to scrape out of it or not. However, I do think they'll be in and around that part of the table, if I'm being completely honest. Obviously, last season, I think they depended quite a lot on their loan players. Obviously, I don't think they've got many of them back, if I'm being completely honest. And obviously, they have strengthened, you know, in their attacking options. I suppose they've got players in like Tom Bradshaw. I think he'll be a good addition, but honestly, I'm not sure. I don't think they'll have enough to stay up, if I'm being completely honest. So if you do spot any of those teams, let me know in the comments down below what you think your chances of survival are. I'd be very interested to know. And this is where it starts to get quite controversial, really. Now I'm showing on screen, guys, the teams I think will come just above the relegation zone, really. I don't think these teams will get relegated. However, I think throughout the season, they may be lingering with the idea of relegation, really. So the team that's coming just above relegation is Wigan Athletic. Now, that's a bit of a controversial one, because I know a lot of people are actually tipping these guys to get into the playoffs. And honestly, it would surprise me, but not to the extent of other teams making the playoffs. Obviously, I could maybe a vast outside chance of it, of them having a decent season, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if Wigan were to finish it in a comfortable mid-table season. However, I'm putting them a bit lower because I think quite a few people are overhyping Wigan, if I'm being completely honest. That's just my opinion, but honestly, I watched a couple of League One matches last season, and honestly, they absolutely stormed League One. They did fantastic last year, but I think a lot of people are overhyping them because I don't think the quality of League One was that good last year. Compared to the previous years, I don't think the quality of League One was that good last year, so it was no real surprise to me that Wigan were going to storm that league. And honestly as well, I remember last year when a lot of people doing predictions were overhyping Bristol City as well. They were tipping Bristol City last year for the playoffs and stuff like that because they won League One. They thought they'd have the momentum to go on. That didn't happen for Bristol City last year, and I don't think it'll happen to Wigan last year. Feel free to disagree with me, that's just my opinion. And then, guys, we have Blackburn, QPR, and Nottingham Forest. So the reason I've got Blackburn in there, I wouldn't be surprised yet again if they were to finish like in and around mid-table. The reason I've got Blackburn in there is because I'm not really convinced by Owen Coyle, their manager. I'm just not so sure, really. They have added players in here and there. Obviously, they've added Anthony Stokes, and I think he was a good addition to the team. I don't think Blackburn are going to go down. I've seen quite a lot of people thinking Blackburn are going to go down. I don't think they'll go down, but honestly, I think they'll be lingering in and around relegation. And then to QPR as well. This was a really difficult one as well, because QPR, I think they'll be in and around the middle of the table. However, I think they'll be lingering towards relegation, if I'm being honest. I don't think they've got, going forward, I don't think they'll score enough goals. Obviously, they have lost Matt Phillips and Leroy Fer as well. And I'm just not sure with their additions. I think Jordan Cousins was a good addition to their squad. However, I don't think, you know, a player like him is going to be able to, like, bring them up the league. I think they're in a transition zone. And honestly, I think it'll be a good 1 or 2 more seasons before we see QPR back to their best, really. So I think this season could be a transition season where they're lingering around the bottom of the table. And then with Nottingham Forest, I'm not really sure, to be honest. They've got a manager who's new to the Championship. They've got quite a lot. I think they brought in 5 new signings who are all pretty much new to the Championship as well. So with Nottingham Forest, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised which way it went with them, to be honest. If they were to, you know, Nottingham Forest have been setting a trend recently. I'd say in the last 4 years, each year they've probably moved down the table by 2 or 3 slots every season. I've just gone on with that trend with my prediction, and I put them in 18th. I wouldn't be surprised if they were much higher than this, honestly. Obviously, they do have the goals to come this season from Britta Sombolonga. However, saying that, you know, Fulham had the goals last season from Ross McCormack, and they still weren't able to pole vault themselves up the table. So Nottingham Forest, I'm not sure, really. And then, guys, this is where we have a big bulk of teams, really. The teams from 18th all the way up to the teams just missing out on the playoffs. Honestly, this is the part of the table, in my opinion, which is just impossible to predict, because all these teams now are capable of finishing anywhere where the others are, if I'm being completely honest. I think this is absolutely impossible to predict, and I'm just putting teams there, basically, what I think of them, really, and I think of their chances. Honestly, this could go either way. This is the hardest bit to predict. So first of all, let's talk about Birmingham, Fulham and Bristol City. I think these guys, they'll all be around mid-table. I don't think they'll have to worry about relegation this year. A couple of them, I've seen quite a few people tipping Bristol City for an outside shot at the playoffs. I wouldn't be too surprised at that, to be honest. I've been impressed with their transfer business, and I think they've got a good manager as well. Obviously, going forward now, they've got a great strike force. They've got Lee Tomlin, who's an excellent player in the Championship, and of course, Jonathan Codger as well. I think it'll be another year or two before Bristol City will be challenging for the playoffs. However, I think they'll make progress on what they did last season, and they've got a very good squad there at Bristol City, so it wouldn't surprise me if they were to do a little bit better than that, but I'm putting them in and around that region of the table, really. And then Fulham and Birmingham, I'm feeling the same with, again, really. Birmingham, I'm not really sure as to how well they've strengthened this season, and I honestly think, yet again, I think it's going to be goals that's going to be the issue for Birmingham this season, so I'll put them quite a bit lower down than they were last season. I've seen quite a few Birmingham fans who are agreeing with me on that. If you're a Birmingham fan and you don't agree with that, let me know in the comments down below as well. And Fulham as well, I think it's pivotal that they keep hold of Ross McCormack. They've had a big clear out of players this year. If they're able to keep hold of Ross McCormack, I think they'll be in and around this position. However, if Ross McCormack is to go, I honestly think Fulham could really be struggling this year. But saying that, I think they'll be in and around this part of the table, and that's what I think of that, really. Then in 14th, we have my club, Preston North End, guys. So the reason I decided to put Preston here is because I don't think I'm doing a disservice to Preston, really, in putting them lower than they finished last season. I think we'll have a very similar season to what we had last season, if I'm being completely honest. However, the reason I've decided to put us slightly lower down than we finished last season, I think the league as a whole will be a lot tougher. There's a lot of teams strengthening vastly. There's a lot of money splashing into teams right now, and it's going to be very competitive, in my opinion. And honestly, I think that as much as I'd like to think that we'll score enough goals next season, it's still lingering over me that I think we may struggle once again for goals this season. So that's the reason I think we'll be comfortable mid-table, if I'm being honest. I don't think we'll need to worry about relegation. God hope we don't. But going forward, I don't think we've got enough yet to make it into the playoffs. I think we could be flirting with that idea, really. Being more realistic, I think we'll be in and around 14th. Let me know, Preston fans, what you think of that. Honestly, I'd say that's a realistic finish for Preston. And then we have Ipswich, Leeds and Reading making up the teams just above Preston, guys. Obviously, I've seen quite a few teams as well, quite a few people tipping Leeds for the playoffs this year. I think it'll be at least another 1 or 2 season job, really, at least, to turn this Leeds United club around. They made some very good signings, which I've been very impressed with, and Gary Monk as well is a terrific football manager. However, I think it's a bit of a mess of a club, really, in all honesty. You know, things going on behind the scenes, their own in issues and all that stuff like that. I think they'll get a comfortable mid-table finish. I think they'll improve slowly and steadily. However, I don't think they have yet what it takes to make the playoffs, in my opinion. Huddersfield are a team I think will surprise quite a few people this season. I'll put them in 10th this year. I actually think that Huddersfield, yet again, it could go 1 or 2 ways. They're bringing in quite a few, they brought in quite a few German players, which is to be expected, obviously, with their German manager, David Wagner. And I think 10th would be, I think that would be a very good season for them, to be honest. It would be a massive improvement from last year. Obviously, if they were able to keep Naki Wells, keep him fit, keep him scoring, he's a fantastic striker, in my opinion. And they've strengthened their squad in the positions they needed to, in my opinion. So 10th position, I think that will be a very good year for Huddersfield. And then just missing out on the playoffs, we have Brentford, Wolves, and Cardiff City, guys. So honestly, these three, I was a bit unsure really. Wolves I actually had a lot lower down in my table if I was to predict this a few weeks ago. But obviously, they've recently had a massive takeover, and if they are to invest the money that they're currently talking about, I think they should be okay this season. I think they'll be flirting with the idea of the playoffs maybe if they are to strengthen in the right areas. Obviously, this is such a hard prediction video to do because a ball's not been kicked yet in the Championship. Obviously, we've still got over a month left of the transfer window, so literally anything can happen, guys. So that's why it's so tough to do this. I mean, Reading at the moment are being linked with Van der Vaart. I mean, if that was to happen, that would catapult them up the league. But that's the reason I'm putting them guys there. So let's move on now to the playoff spot. So as you can see, guys, there are the teams I have finishing in the playoffs, guys. This is going to be a highly contested league in my opinion. It's going to be very tight as well, but these are the teams I managed to get into the playoffs in my opinion, guys. So in 6th we have Aston Villa. I think a lot of people are... I think there's quite a mixed bunch of people thinking what Aston Villa will do, really. I think there's a lot of people who think Aston Villa will be lingering around mid-table. A lot of people think they'll go straight back up automatically. I think they'll just about scrape it into the playoffs. Obviously, they've got a fantastic manager in Roberto Di Matteo. They've still got for the Championship, I'd say they've got a decent squad. However, saying that, I don't think they're on the level that some other teams are this year in the Championship. I think they'll just about sneak into the playoffs. However, I don't think they'll do much more than that, in my opinion. And then we have Brighton, Norwich, and Derby, guys. So these three, I think, will be very close in the table this year. And I think if these three could finish in any order, I don't think these quite have what it takes to make automatic. Obviously, they could. In my opinion, I'm just going to say they're going to make the playoffs. I mean, a lot of people are tipping Derby for promotion. Honestly, I'm saying they'll finish in the playoffs again because it's just what Derby always do. They always seem to bottle it when it comes to the important time of the season. They've obviously got a good manager now in Nigel Pearson. I think he'll bring a lot of experience to this Derby side and a lot of what they needed really for the past seasons. However, saying that, I still think they'll miss out on automatic. And now, guys, for the top two, I'm sure you guessed it. This season, I've gone for Sheffield Wednesday finishing in 2nd and Newcastle United finishing in 1st. They are my predictions, guys. So the reason I put Sheffield Wednesday in 2nd, they've got an absolutely fantastic squad. They've got an abundance of talent going forward. And at the back, they're incredibly stable as well. Obviously, they've brought in Stephen Fletcher for this season. He's added to their attacking quality that they've got already. Players like Ross Wallace they've got Forestieri, Gary Hooper, and now Fletcher as well. I honestly think this could be the season for Sheffield Wednesday. That's the reason I put them in 2nd, and then Newcastle in 1st. Honestly, I think they've just got too much quality for this league, really. They've got a Champions League winning manager, obviously Aston Villa do as well, but Rafa Benitez is a fantastic manager. They've got, you know, they've spent so much money in this transfer window. They brought in great players that will do well in the Championship, in my opinion. Players like Dwight Gale and Matt Ritchie as well. I'm not really sure they'll storm the league, but I think they will come out as champions in the end, guys. So to wrap up this video, guys, there are my Championship predictions, guys, for this season. So it'll be interesting to see at the end of the year if I actually manage to get any of these right. I'd be very interested to know. So, like I said at the start of this video, guys, I want to know your predictions for the upcoming Championship season, guys. And like I said, don't hate on me for any of these predictions, guys. It's just my opinion, and this is the most unpredictable league in the world, so literally anything could happen, guys. Burton Albion could win the league. I wouldn't even be that surprised since Leicester won the Premier League last year, guys. So, thank you very much for watching, guys. That will wrap it up for this video now. So, make sure you check out all the links in the description down below. If you are new around here, make sure you subscribe. It really does help me out. Leave a like as well, but like I said, guys, subscribe for more regular Championship content. Other than that, guys, I'll see you all in the next one.